ABC suspends Jimmy Kimmel Live amid political backlash and regulatory threats after remarks on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Disney-owned ABC has indefinitely pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air following the host's remarks about the September 10th assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, triggering a cascade of political, regulatory, and industry reactions within the last 10 hours. The move followed outspoken criticism from Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr and celebratory posts from President Donald Trump, while major station groups including Nexstar announced they would preempt the program across affiliate networks. The episode has rapidly become a flashpoint over broadcast standards, free expression, and political pressure on media companies heading into a volatile news cycle. Kimmel's monologue earlier this week criticized what he described as attempts by the MAGA gang to politicize the killing of Charlie Kirk, and he mocked President Trump's response to the death, comments that drew immediate condemnation from conservative figures and regulatory scrutiny from the FCC chair. Multiple accounts note Kimmel's phrasing implied the alleged shooter was aligned with Trump's movement, a characterization that intensified the backlash and prompted urgent affiliate decisions to drop the show before Disney's network-level preemption was announced. ABC's public line described the program as preempted indefinitely, with no immediate timetable for a return, as protests gathered outside Kimmel's Hollywood studio amid the unfolding suspension. The reaction across the industry was swift and polarized, with Hollywood figures and unions criticizing what they called an attack on free speech as political pressure mounted on broadcasters over late-night content. Reuters reporting highlights that the decision came as Trump has repeatedly urged broadcasters to halt what he deems objectionable content and pressed for license actions at the FCC, raising alarms among press freedom advocates about regulatory overreach into editorial matters. German media groups and international outlets have framed the incident as part of a broader global debate over speech, satire, and political influence over media gatekeepers. Background context is essential to understanding the stakes. Kimmel has been a mainstay of ABC's late-night lineup since 2003, frequently deploying political satire that has included sustained criticism of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist, was fatally shot in Utah on September 10th, an event that shocked political circles and sparked a wave of online and on-air commentary across the spectrum. Al Jazeera and other outlets report that Tyler Robinson, 22, has been charged in connection with the killing, with Utah prosecutors signaling an intent to seek the death penalty, even as motive remains unclear, adding a legal dimension that heightens sensitivities around coverage and commentary. Key players in the current developments include Disney's ABC, which made the network-level decision to suspend the show, Nexstar Media Group, which moved quickly to preempt Kimmel across dozens of ABC affiliates, and FCC Chair Brendan Carr, whose public comments and references to broadcast licensing escalated the stakes for the network and its station partners. ABC's choice to use the term preempted indefinitely suggests a strategic posture that maintains scheduling flexibility while responding to immediate pressures and potential regulatory exposure for affiliates. International coverage from Deutsche Welle and other outlets underscores the perception that this case is part of a larger global debate over speech, satire, and political influence over media gatekeepers. The latest developments show the controversy intensifying within the last 10 hours, as Hollywood unions and industry figures rallied publicly in Kimmel's defense, while conservative leaders framed ABC's move as overdue accountability for offensive content. Reuters reports that the White House-aligned pressure campaign extended beyond Kimmel, with Trump calling on NBC to terminate Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, reflecting a broadening focus on late-night satire across networks. This widening scope raises the possibility of a recalibration of late-night formats and editorial policies at multiple broadcasters as corporate standards teams reevaluate risk amid uncertain FCC posture. Immediate impacts are visible on several fronts: programming changes at ABC and affiliates, protests and public demonstrations outside the Kimmel studio, and intensified social media and political messaging about broadcast standards and partisan bias. For advertisers and sponsors, the uncertainty around the show's return and the elevated political scrutiny could trigger temporary reallocations of spend and contingency buys across late-night and adjacent dayparts. Station groups managing renewal cycles and ownership transactions, like Nexstar's ongoing regulatory interests, may be especially sensitive to content controversies that could complicate license reviews or public interest showings. Looking forward, potential long-term implications include a redefinition of editorial guardrails in broadcast late night, with networks likely to formalize stricter internal review processes for political monologues that reference active criminal cases or high-profile victims. If the FCC were to take formal action or even continue overt signaling, station owners could harden preemptive policies, accelerating a trend toward risk-averse programming and possibly incentivizing a shift of politically edged satire to streaming platforms less constrained by broadcast regulations. Conversely, if industry and civil society pressure mounts against regulatory threats to content, networks may test reinstatement scenarios with revised guidelines, negotiated statements, or mediated formats designed to preserve satire while limiting exposure. There is also the legal and political context around Charlie Kirk's killing that will continue to shape the narrative, including the prosecution's pursuit of capital punishment and any emerging evidence about motive or affiliations of the accused. As those facts develop, commentary that speculates about motive or ties could face heightened scrutiny, placing late-night writers and standards teams in a delicate position between timely satire and legal prudence. International coverage suggests that this episode is already being read as a barometer for speech boundaries in Western democracies under polarized politics, a frame that could influence future corporate decisions far beyond a single show. Industry precedent offers mixed guidance. While late-night satire has weathered controversies before, the explicit invocation of licensing risk by a sitting FCC chair, combined with an active presidential campaign's direct calls for cancellations, marks a more aggressive alignment of political and regulatory pressure than is typical in U.S. broadcast history. For Disney, the calculus spans advertiser relations, affiliate stability, regulatory exposure, talent relations, and international brand perception, all during a period of heightened political sensitivity. For Kimmel, a prolonged pause could open discussions about platform alternatives, negotiated returns with content safeguards, or broader industry solidarity actions should unions and guilds choose to escalate. Finally, the audience dimension is pivotal. Late-night shows have long doubled as cultural forums where comedic critique intersects with civic discourse, and interruptions to that space can reshape how viewers access political satire and commentary. Whether audiences migrate temporarily to other hosts, shift toward digital clips and streaming native satirists, or disengage amid fatigue will inform network strategies in the coming weeks. In the near term, all eyes remain on ABC's next scheduling moves, any FCC follow-on statements, and whether industry-led defenses coalesce into structured campaigns for media independence in the broadcast arena.